So welcome everybody. So today we are here for just an hour to have a lunchtime connection building moment together to hear from a few amazing panelists who are in our video that we'll share with you in a second. So we have Carrie Bales and Scott Edens. We have Ileana Bellens from Pals and Pets and Anne English, who is part of CSH, sorry, Corporation for Supportive Housing, Speak Up, and My Dog is My Home. And I'll be moderating today. My name is Rebecca Canara, and I am the Senior Manager of Educational Programming at The Giving Spirit. And also I'm here with Sally Essex Lopresti, who's in the background, making everything happen and getting us to this day. So with all of that, I want to also just take a moment to acknowledge the privilege that we have to be calling in and working from this land that is the historical land of the Tongva and Luisteños peoples. And when we're talking about displacement, I find it really important to acknowledge and take a moment to acknowledge both the ancestors and both the present community and elders of the peoples whose land we are living on. So with that, I'm going to share my screen again and show you our wonderful new film that we're really excited to share with you. And afterwards, we will take some time to meet with the heroes represented in this film and also answer any questions you have that you would like. So be sure to put those questions into the chat. You can message me directly and I'll go through them as we get to that point. You can also just write them down and then ask them freely when it's time. So with that, make sure you're on mute. And I'm going to also...
Rebecca?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's just me, but there's a big rectangle sort of in the height. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Let me know if it's a problem when I start playing. Okay. Here we go. Let me see.
Super important for folks to understand first that just as much as you love your kids, you can love an animal. You know, they say they choose you. I don't know, there's something that went on in my brain and my spirit.
He was like right up in my face. I mean, it was love at first sight.
There's just something super magical between humans and pets that we all can understand and what we get to see on a daily basis when we work with unhoused people and their pets.
I do think that having an animal speaks a lot to that person's ability to be responsible for something other than themselves.
I had walking, take care of him, feeding. I had a purpose. It takes your mind off of you. It takes your mind off of your ugliness or the awful thoughts that run through your mind.
He was the difference maker in my life. He was the one that got me through the dark times that were coming, that I wasn't aware were coming, that I was going to be homeless again. I wouldn't have fought so hard if it weren't for him. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. I wouldn't have the job that I do if it weren't for him. He kept me alive.
I love this dog. It's like, I don't know, it's I love my dog.
I just, God, I loved him. Still do.
One of the largest barriers is that people just have an automatic predisposition to not want to work with animals. It's a risk.
When they have to choose between that one stability they've had most of their life at their deepest, darkest moment, they're choosing their pets over shelter and services for themselves.
Imagine how hard it is if somebody doesn't understand that this animal is a part of someone's family, that this is their entire social support system.
Look, don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste your time, because if I have to get rid of my dog, we might as well just hang it up here.
It's a monumental task to be able to function and stay alive and find housing when you've got an animal. Chew toys. These are good for their teeth too.
These I love. These I love.
You gotta have water. You gotta have a place for them to eat. So having something that's lightweight, can only carry what they can carry.
Oh, he loves these. These he loves. They love these. These are the...
And everybody likes a soft blanket. And that's a soft one too, and lightweight, so that's terrific.
The brush, yes. He is a great, we got a regimen. Every morning he's got to be brushed.
We have to take care of our dogs. We also have to pick up after them. So having dog bags, you can put this, again, this can go around the dog's collar or the pet's collar, or it can go on a backpack just by clicking on.
Let me read this, because it's everything actually. These little cards, especially the hand ones done, mean a lot.
This is phenomenal. This is always the best thing.
I think little things like this is really meaningful to people living on the streets, even people in our shelters.
It shows that, you know, somebody is thinking about you.
Just to be seen.
Those cards are beautiful.
A landlord can find any number of reasons not to accept your voucher, which is when I ended up getting a Section 8 voucher for the military. I found a very kind, loving couple that understood that and was willing to take a chance.
They got me housed in Compton in a beautiful little trailer that I'm going on my 7th year.
I've been living there for 5 years now. Scout passed away about a year and a half ago. And you know, that was our home.
That was a change of my life. Him and it was a freedom I never felt before.
So I want to just welcome Carrie.
Hi.
I'm going to spotlight you, Carrie. Going to spotlight all the folks who are here who are in that video. And I see in the chat that thank you, that was very special. I know you were seeing a gray block. This is for live transcription, so I didn't have control over that. But that's what for some of you who didn't have the transcription on, that's what you were seeing. So just give me a second to add a spotlight here. We have Carrie, we have Scott, and I'm going to spotlight also Anne English. And I'm going to spotlight Elana Balance. And here you go. And let's see. So I think I need to spotlight myself, don't I? I can't right now. So thank you all for being here today. I want to start with Carrie and just appreciate you and would love for you to share a little bit with this group about your experience. I know you fought really hard and that you mentioned choosing your pet over housing at first, and you have a special relationship with Lucky, and you told me that Lucky saved your life, that like he took you out of yourself. So I was wondering if you could talk a little, there he is. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that for us today.
Oh, about the trust with the dog. Yeah, my dog, he's not a dog. He's my right hand, he's my heart, he's everything to me. And he keeps me going every day. I have to wake up and take care of him, and because he makes sure he's in my face. So but if it wasn't for my dog, I honestly, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here on this earth, period. So I think it's very important that people get to know that, you know what, homeless people, you know, need to be housed. Well, their animals need to be housed too. You know, they don't need to be discarded like you know, like just a dog. You know, they're not just dogs. So yeah, I think that's very important, because that was one thing that I had made a point to, that, you know, that if I had to get rid of my dog, might as well not even talk to you or talk to me, because, you know, he wasn't going anywhere. So I would rather be out there on the street than have to go through any of that, you know, to discriminate or to abandon my dog. They need housing too. I mean, they need help in being, you know, taken care of better than being on the street or just abandon them. That's kind of like, you know, that's not even an option. I don't know, but my dog gives me joy. He gives me a purpose to live, period. To, you know, just the purpose to live. You know, I've been thinking a lot about death lately because the death of my son. And if I lost my dog, that would have been, you know, I could imagine, you know, that lose, you know, our babies, you know, but I know it's part of life. You know, all things die, you know, that's why I'm learning about grieving. But see, I want to appreciate my dog and enjoy him while he's here or while I'm here, you know, and like I said, because he's not just a dog, he's he's more important than my kids. You know, that's kind of funny, but my daughter, she's I've been talking to her on the phone. She's like, "Where's Lucky at?" Because she's been away for a while too. So I had to have, you know, have him in the video too. But and that's why most people know him. It's by Lucky, but so, but yeah, I think it's very important that, you know, that something happens. You know, I know there's a lot of cracks and a lot of gaps in the system. You know, especially like for myself, I you know, been falling through the cracks so much of supportive housing on top of mental health has dropped me, and any kind of support that I had or needed. And so I had to start this route all over again, and still leading me to the wrong people, wrong places that not even, you know, have anything to do with what is going on with me. Because I have an issue that I'm not homeless, but I will be if I don't, you know, because I have threats. I have a person that's been threatening my life and my well-being around at my home, and the managers can't even do nothing about it. They've had a police report on her and everything. She just walks in there like it's nothing. But you know, I need to transition. I need to transition to somewhere, you know, senior place where it's more controlled, more, you know, because I have domestic violence as well. You know, and Lucky, you know, he can't just go anywhere. You know, I had to get the doctors, you know, I carry with me, you know, for him. I even had his license for that, but it's costly. That's costly, you know, to keep even your yearly emotional pet service animal a card, and feed him too, the services for like, a veterinarian to take him to the vet. This beautiful lady Ann, when he got sick, if it wasn't for him, he would have, I don't know, he got hurt, but and that's something that I really would like to, be more advocate about, is to, some of the homeless people, I can't afford taking him to the vet. I can't afford, and he needs to go. He needs to, just like we do, take regular doctor's appointments and shots to keep him up, because they get sick just like we do. And so that's one thing I need to, and food, buying him food is not that bad, because he doesn't really eat that much because he's a little dog, but I'd start myself before I let Lucky go out of a meal. I've done that, because my money doesn't last to the end, as long as the month, so who eats, him or me? Well, yeah, he does.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, I really just appreciate you sharing so much about your story and what you're experiencing even now. And I do, wish for you moving through those steps, moving through the transition of finding the next safer place. And I think there are a lot of supportive folks around on this call even, right, who are motivated to support you. But you're also speaking to the mental health piece. And what we know is that even 5 minutes with an animal, with a dog, right, can reduce your stress levels. And you're really speaking to just taking that to the I don't want to say extreme, but really, like, what does it mean on the daily, like the humanity, the connection you have with your animal, and how he's carried you through. But you also talked about all these essential services that are there for you and how you need them. And then I know you mentioned to me how that activates you now of wanting to get involved and help other folks. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And Scott, I'm wondering, as you're hearing Carrie share, if there's something specific you want to share with the group. I definitely have questions for you, but one of the things you said to me was that we're all part of the same system. And so I'm wondering if you want to speak a little bit more about that and your experience.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, my experience, I was homeless for about 4.5 years. I had Scout for 13 years. He was and a lot of what Carrie said really did resound with me. I've now been housed for 6 years, and I work for a nonprofit on the west side of Los Angeles, conducting homeless street outreach. So I do run into a lot of folks with pets, and that takes me back to my time with Scout. And he was just tremendous, source of love in a dark space. He was, I think animals, I think pets in particular, family pets, have a way of providing a peaceful environment. That unconditional love is just, it's priceless. It's priceless in an environment where you're constantly on guard, where you're constantly hyper vigilant, hyper aware of your surroundings, your safety. And that is something I think is really magical about having a pet, and the importance of having a pet for those that do, is it's a reprieve, if you will. It's a respite from the torment of daily living as a homeless person. It's very, very difficult, obviously. Rebecca, you mentioned being all part of the same system, and I think that us as the human system, I meant that in two ways. Us as the human system I think we have an obligation to take care of each other. I think if we see people hurting, we have a ethical obligation to reach out and offer a hand, but also as a part of trying to and what I do with my nonprofit, trying to end the crisis that is homelessness on the streets of Los Angeles. So we are all a part of the same system. We're all different sprockets working for the same goal, which is, I think, take care of each other. And where do pets fall in there? Right in the middle, if you've got one. Right in the middle. They're closer than your than just about anything that you can find on the street. And it's the one thing that's going to love you. So.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah.
There's so much that you're sharing there, but that respite from the torment of daily life and this whole system that we're part of, I think really matters. And I want to appreciate you for being here and sharing your story.
Thank
and
you.
sharing it on the film as well. And so I want to come over to Elana and talk to you a little bit about you and Pals and Pets. And maybe you can just share a moment of what you all do, and maybe something that's a challenge you're currently having and a win that you're currently having, but something you're hoping that we take away, because there are a lot of different people here, right? There are partner agencies and there are community members, donors, and volunteers. So something you'd like us to take away. You're muted.
Hello, can you hear me? Oh, good. Thank you. I am so honored to be here. And thank you, Carrie and Scott, for sharing your experience in your life and your beautiful connection that you have with your pets. And yeah, so my name is Elana Valence, and I am the founder and executive director of Pals and Pets. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit based here in Los Angeles. And our mission is to increase shelter access for unhoused pet owners by supporting existing human shelters with necessary pet programs in order to do that. And I think a lot of people don't realize is that most shelters don't allow pets, like Anne mentioned before in the video, that it's a bit of a risk. And not only that it's a bit of a risk, but it really takes a bit of a system of support, just like any other type of demographic, like veterans need a certain type of support, or family and children. When you integrate animals into co-sheltering environments, there's different kinds of fundings, different kinds of resources like vet services and so forth. And so there are few shelters that do allow pets in doing so. And so, I think a lot of shelters do want to open up their doors and allowing people with pets. It's not as easy to do so. And so a few of the things that we have been struggling with, well, let's start with the win, actually. One of, I think, the biggest movements that has recently occurred in the last year and a half is that there has been a bill that passed as a grant, which is the Pet Assistance Support Grant that was passed by State Senator Hertzberg. And that was one of the biggest hurdles, I think, for existing shelters to be able to open up their doors and allowing more people with pets so that they can provide the proper support. I think a lot of people don't realize not only do our people need to learn transitioning skills from coming from the streets into shelter, because it's such a big change, but so do our pets. And
Big time.
How do we do that, right? You know, you bring in pets who are used to living on the streets, being very protective as they should be to their pet owners, and then we come into very close encounter environments with other individuals that they don't know how to protect, and there's certain situations that can occur. And so this is where shelters need also the most support, along with pet supplies and veterinary services. So I think the bill is one of the biggest gifts to shelters in order to begin that process and opening the doors. I actually just got off a call a couple days ago with Hertzberg's office, and they are passing another permanent bill, which I think is very exciting. It's sitting in appropriations, and it's passed unanimously. And so this is going to be one of the biggest changes. I think one thing we have been struggling with is the shelters that do allow pets currently just may need some extra help, just focusing on this specific demographic within the shelters with people with pets. Whether it's bringing in supplies, whether it's helping our case managers within the facilities. You know, case managers do a great amount of work focused on the individual, connecting them to services for themselves. But we also need help with individuals helping with the person and their pet, but also developing that trust with the person and their pet, right? I mean, you know, there's this very strong transformative bond that our people with pets have with their pets. It's their safety, it's their love. It may be their only pure love that they've ever experienced in their whole lives, and they're just not going to leave them with anyone. Like Carrie said, this is her life, right? And so having some on-site staff, you know, specific to this demographic, whether it be volunteers, whether it be, you know, shelter workers, someone aside from the case managers, would be super helpful. And that's one thing that we you know, provide with Pulse and Pets, since we do focus specifically with this demographic within shelters. But yeah, it is a work in process. There are some gaps that need to be filled, but I think we're definitely, as a community, moving in the right direction. And it's because you know, our unhoused people and pets are speaking up and reaching out and talking to our outreach, or talking to our community, and our community members are talking to, you know, other people who can make a difference. And I think it's also because we can all really relate to this powerful bond with our pets, whether we're housed or unhoused. You know, we all know that pet therapy doesn't discriminate, you know, whether we are housed or unhoused. We all can relate to the strong, loving bond, and how you know, our pets change us or get us through tough times, you know, lift our spirits. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful, it's magical. Sometimes our very own pets reach us in a way that no other human being can, and gives us hope in times of our lives where we do feel hopeless. And in order to make any type of change within ourselves or in our community, we got to start with hope. And animals give that to us, and we've got to honor them. We got to honor them to honor ourselves and honor each other. We all share, you know, this planet Earth, and whether we're humans or animals, we each have our very own purpose and obligation, like Scott said, to each other, whether we're people or pets. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I love that pet therapy doesn't discriminate against you, whether you're housed or unhoused. I think that, and I used to work in a shelter in Northern California, and pets, we were in 20 years ago, and we were not seeing what you all are doing now. So I just really appreciate your summary too of the legislation, what's coming forward to help support this at the systemic level. So thank you. And that actually brings us to Anne, right? And my dog is my home. And how you are working on co-sheltering and engaging more and more folks, more and more programs to adopt that. So if you could summarize a bit about what My Dog is My Home does, and also same thing, opportunities and challenges, and something you'd like folks to take away with.
Great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be on this panel with all of you. I mean, you know, really admire everything Elana has done over the last couple of years. And, you know, Scott and Carrie, you too, I love you so much. So I'm sort of here, you know, with two hats on, because the CSH Speak Up program, which is my day job, is how I know Scott and Carrie, because they're part of our community of folks who have overcome homelessness and, you know, continue to do the work of you know, I mean, one of the things that people don't understand is that housing doesn't necessarily end somebody's poverty, you know, or their marginalization. And so there's a lot of work that still has to be done even when people become housed. So anyway, CSH is a national nonprofit that does a lot of different work, but I work with the folks with lived experience of homelessness. And My Dog is My Home. I sit on the board of My Dog is My Home. I've been there since the beginning, which is only about 5 years. And what we are is a national nonprofit 501c3 that seeks to build the capacity across the country of, you know, folks like Elana, any kind of organization, continuum of care, and different nonprofit providers, you know, to build skills around co-sheltering and sort of, you know, dismantle all of the what I referred to as risks in the video, kind of those thoughts, because those are really not real. They're just things that, I mean, you know, people have decided are, you know, well, you know, they have a bad experience. It's just how, that's just how people think. You know, the one bad experience stands out more than the million good experiences. So, you know, we have something called the Co-Sheltering Collaborative with My Dog is My Home, which is a quarterly meeting of folks across the country that are doing co-sheltering or looking to do co-sheltering. So it's a mix of housing and homeless services providers and animal welfare advocates who are looking to bridge those two communities and work together. I mean, I can't say more than what everyone has said. I mean, I'm, you know, personally have been, you know, a strong animal advocate, animal lover my entire life. I'm currently praising the pandemic because it has allowed me to be home with my geriatric 21-year-old cat for like the last, you know, 12 months, which, you know, would have not been possible otherwise. And I'm really grateful for that, that the animals in my life have always been so important that it's not hard for me to imagine what it's like if I didn't have other supports in my life, if I didn't have the privileges that I have, what it would mean to me. I mean, it already, even as who I am, means so much to me, my animals. So it's not hard to imagine what it means to someone who has nothing else. And so, I mean, I was just going to say about the policy, I just heard today about something that Representative Schiff is doing. I don't know if it's the same thing you're talking about, Ileana, but there is a policy that Representative Schiff has put forward around permanently, you know, recognizing the importance of pets as family and not having it be a reason that they're excluded from shelter. So yeah, so there is momentum. It's really great. We had our first national conference at the beginning of this year. We'll have another one next year. You know, there were over 500 people there, and represented, you know, Senator Hertzberg was there, and Solis, and a lot of people. It was just great, and people actually internationally who are working on this issue. So there are other countries that see the importance of this. And I think, you know, where we are right now with, you know, the housing crisis, the crisis around racial justice and equity, which really to me is just a banner for all oppressive practices. We're really at a place where it's time to move on things that we've known for a long time that we see as not okay and kind of ridiculous or antiquated. And people, I think, are coming around to that. I mean, it's not just in shelters and, supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness. I mean, housing in general, it's difficult to find places that accept animals, right? Which is insane, So I think a lot of this is about major culture shift that hopefully is happening across the spectrum of experience. So yeah, we've had a lot of great wins with My Dog Is My Home and the Co-Sheltering Collaborative. We're a completely volunteer organization, with a very heavily working board. And we did get some funding to provide some fellowships, some for volunteers, for veterinary social workers, and we're doing that. And but it's really about building capacity and informing people across the country so that they understand people are doing this, people are being successful at it, and it's time to do it, right? I mean, there's a lot of support, momentum, and I think recognition. I mean, even in our community in Los Angeles, I think there are people on here from like PATH, who has a great program. Also, we had and they spoke at our conference as well. And the Continuum of Care, LASA, presented at our conference and really kind of threw down a gauntlet. They were like, look, we're just about getting people into housing, which is not what LASA's, party line was a few years ago. It was, the same as many others, but now it's really about, accommodate, we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. So I feel really good about where we are on this, and there's a lot of work to do. And we're going to be there and we're going to do it. And I would encourage, folks to join the Co-Sheltering Collaborative with My Dog Is My Home. I can definitely get you that information, but, we share resources. It's a collaborative. It's about, moving this work forward. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anne. Yeah, there's so much, and I'm there's so much that you're addressing, and the way in which, we were looking at some data that showed that it's actually easier for landlords they can accept tenants quicker if they accept pets. They'll get more folks, there's ways in which it might be economically beneficial.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that part of housing insecurity as well as the shelter programs. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take about 10 minutes to answer some questions from folks. So I've asked anyone who wants to, please go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And that way I can organize them a little bit. So I'm just looking, I see that Abigail and Samantha and Roxanne have some questions. So let me take a look here. And the first question from Abigail is there any grief support in an unhoused or sheltered person if an unhoused or sheltered person loses a pet? And if not, it's an idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I don't know of any specific programs for that. I would say, there should not be any difference in grief support, whether it's for a pet or a family member. I mean, grief is grief, you know what I mean? And so, while I don't know anyone that specifically does that, I'm sure there are very high-end something, but absolutely, that's a great idea. And it's something along with, supportive housing is meant to be tailored, client-centered, wraparound services based on what the client needs. So if that is something, if you're serving folks in supportive housing that have companion animals, that needs to be a piece of it, Yeah.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. And I'm just going to move us through a couple of questions, but because there are so many experts in the whole Zoom room right now, if you have answers in addition, please use the chat and put them in there, because this is also to be sharing information with each other. I see Samantha asking and appreciating you, Scott, understanding you're a veteran. Thank you so much for your service. Have you seen resistance from other veterans in opinions about taking care of animals over people?
You know, I haven't, and I do work, and I say work lightly, but associate with a lot of veterans in the Los Angeles area. I'm a big advocate for veterans' rights, um, and that's something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. But I haven't seen I think that a lot of vets really do understand the value of having a reprieve in the midst of chaos. That being in the military, having a break, R&R, having a pet is also a reprieve. It's also a break, and from the daily grind. And I think that they really, at least in my experience, most of them want them. They want to go out and get pets if they don't have them already. And a lot of my vet buddies have, when they came over and would hang out and we barbecue and hang out with Scout, and it said, man, I gotta get me a dog. I gotta get one. This is amazing. I didn't know that this was out there. And so it's quite the contrary. I think at least in my experience, that that veterans definitely appreciate the break, or the reprieve rather, that an animal can offer.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, we know the research piece, but also just that instant feeling, that instant connection, excuse me, that people can have. See a question also here from Roxanne about how accessible is it to get a pet registered as an emotional support pet assistance animal for those who are unhoused? Are there any barriers, like needing a permanent address to get them registered, or possibly any prejudice from the system who helps register them? Does anyone want to answer?
I don't know anything about the registration, but I know by having to do that for Lucky, because there's a lot, I couldn't go to mental health. I couldn't, be part of a program without his license. But like I said, it's costly, because you have to pay for that. It's something that, it's like, but also too, yes, you have to have a permanent address, because otherwise they don't have no, grounding for the dog to have some the support that he needs, or that to give. In my case, I carry a doctor's letter with me always for him. I didn't never have any issues till maybe right at the pandemic, that I had any problems with taking him anywhere with me, because when I'm in my wheelchair, he's right beside me. So, but like trying to get him another one to have him registered, it's costly. It's over $100 to just for the the paperwork and the license and the kit that they get with it. So like I said, I think that it should be more of accessible, for that, because just like we need to be registered or have some kind of, our dogs need that too, especially tracking them or losing them. I had a friend that lost his dog. He went out the window of his car, and he couldn't track him, couldn't find him, he couldn't nothing because he couldn't afford it, and yeah, it made him pretty sick, because I mean, you can get like $71, for just a one to get by with, but for the actual, registration one, it's not accessible as it should be.
I can kind of chime in. I think with my experience, I've been doing homeless street outreach for about 4 years, and one of the tools that we use when we run into homeless or unhoused individuals with animals, while we're trying to walk them through the housing process, is to get that emotional support certification. We have contacts and ties with psychiatrists and medical doctors of all sorts, that we understand specifically as outreach workers that this is a big priority for folks. And like Carrie was saying, if their pet can't come with them, they're not going. And I wouldn't have done it either. I'm not going to leave a family member like that. So they do understand the importance, and we've done what we can, at least in my experience, to streamline that process as far as getting emotional support animals signed off by medical doctors and psychiatry specialists. So we're trying.
I'm sorry, you done?
Oh no, I'm done.
Well, Kingdom of Cause, they did do that for me. They did take me to make sure that he had the letter of recommendation to be in the house, to be in my place, because they needed that to prove that he was. So, but they did that. They took me to places that need to be. I had the referrals and recommendations for it. But being dropped from that or being extended from that, I had to start all over again. I had to do the same things all over again to get back, or even, because I'm afraid of losing my house. I'm afraid of losing my place. I can't go homeless again, especially with him. And, no. And so I'm kind of lost in between with the services with him to start all over that process again. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we have to start to wrap up right now, but I think that part of what you're touching on, and I think that was brought up earlier by several folks on this panel, is just how important it is for all of us to get involved, right? Like each of us to find a way to be an advocate for someone. There's ways that even if we're not one of the amazing partner agencies here today, that we can be an advocate, that we can make that phone call, that we can do what we can to connect with people. And I'm hearing an ask to get involved with the programs, with the housing programs, to volunteer, to engage with people, to see what they need, but also that trust building, right? To take the time. So it's not just, so to take time to engage with someone and connect with them over time and see what it is they and their animal need, and what those barriers are, like the question started. And also joining the co-sheltering collaborative. And then also we want you to volunteer this weekend at the Giving Spirit, right? So I want to thank all of you, all the panelists, Carrie, Scott, Anne, and Eliana, for being here with us today. I really appreciate you for both being in the film, and I put a link in the chat for folks if you want to go and watch it again. Please share it out. Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to unspotlight you, but I love the question Samantha just put in, because I was just about to share. Here's a list of all of the different organizations who are here today, and a little summary of what they're doing. And that's why I'm going to unspotlight you, so you can see each other. So again, if you want to rename yourself, if you hadn't yet, with your first name and the agency you're with, I'd love to do that. But thank you to the panel. I'm going to unspotlight you and so that we can see everybody. All of you will have to go ahead into the upper corners and pick gallery view so that you can see everybody. Feel free to turn your videos on if you want and wave to each other. I'm going to share my screen for a second though, and then we'll come back to each other. And this is just a logo, just so you have a little visual impact of just the different all of the different folks who are doing something for humans and their animal companions. And these agencies will be receiving the companion animal kits that are being built this weekend, starting right now. And actually, I'm going to see if we have Tim here to just have him give you a view of what it's looking like. There you are, Tim. Let me spotlight you. There you are.
Thanks.
If you want to unmute, tell us how it's going over there. You're muted, or maybe you're working on it.
There we go.
How are you doing? You want to show us around?
Yes,
Just
I will. I'll take off my face right now. So thank you for having us. We're here at lovely Westchester, and I'm going to give you a quick scan. There you go. There are all the boxes full of all the stuff. There are workers. There's the Giving Spirit sign. We're actually in between. We're on lunch, so we have volunteers coming this afternoon.
That's cool.
There are all the items up here. There we go.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tim. Is there anything, any specific dates you want or hours that you need people to come in this weekend or on Monday?
We're actually doing real well on volunteers, but we could always use a few more. So if anybody wants to come, just email us and we'll figure it out.
Okay,
So
great.
here for 2 sessions, the morning and afternoon, Saturday and Sunday, and also on Monday.
Okay, let me put the email in the chat so that people know to email Heidi if they want to register.
Yes.
And I'm going to say thank you so much, Tim. Have a good lunch break.
Hey, thank you.
Yep.
Right
So now, yeah, good to see you. I removed the spotlight, so if you go back to gallery mode, you'll see everyone again. So just take it in. There are a lot of great folks here. If you know people who want to volunteer, you can email Heidi at the Giving Spirit to sign up for a shift. I know a lot of you are also signing up for shifts, and I want to acknowledge Dick. Where are you? There you are. I'm going to spotlight you for a second. There you are. A lot of you.
Everyone.
Yep. So I just want to give you a moment to say hi.
Thanks everybody for joining. Amazing chat. Thank you, Rebecca. All good. I'm so happy that we were able to get the kits allocated to everybody. If I'm missing somebody that I haven't reached out to, please reach out to me.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Dick. I know you weren't expecting that. Sorry. But I really, Dick and me, who Sally is hiding behind the scenes with Carrie. You want to just show your face for a second? I'm going to spotlight you. They've been behind the scenes really coordinating this event today, but also just connecting with all the agencies and really making sure that we get these supplies out to all the people who are in need of them. So thank you.
That's the luckiest, because not only am I with Carrie, I'm with Lucky too. So
great to see you. One more spotlight. I'm going to find Tom and see if let me go to gallery. Want to just wrap up today with a thank you from Tom. Once I find him, let's see if I don't have him.
yeah, he's there. I don't.
I'm here.
Sorry, give me 1 second. There you are, Tom. I needed you to speak and then you showed up on my screen. So there's Tom. So Tom, I'm going to hand it off to you to wrap us up here for the day.
Well, thank you. And everyone, it's just such an honor to share this experience with all of you. And, I echo Rebecca and her shout outs to Carrie, Scott, and Eliana as partners. You all are partners in your own way. We are so blessed to have this program that's been going on now for 4 years, but really has taken off the last couple of years. If you are new to the Giving Spirit, we have a bifurcated mission. It's what you saw in those kits, the fundamental material aid that we give those living on the streets, whether they be 2 legs or 4. Is half of our mission, allowing them to regain their dignity, regain a sense of humanity by having the necessities they need to survive for a day, a week, a month, sometimes longer. And the other half of our mission is what I want to give a huge shout out to Rebecca and Sally for hosting our first virtual education panel. And so this is it's a new era for all of us in terms of being able to communicate and share the ability to pierce the veil of poverty, pierce the veil of homelessness, and making those that live on the streets, those that are in the shadows, or those that we have tend to objectify and even ignore in many circumstances. When you hear their stories and understand the resilience of people like Scott and Carrie and what they had to overcome, to become one of us again, back with a roof over their head, jobs, and a life that is now sustainable because of folks like Anne and Elana and their organizations taking the time and the compassion and rallying people around their causes, around the truth. And at the end of the day, that's what wins the day, is the truth. And if anybody asks me what business we're in the truth business. We care about our people, but we believe the truth will eventually bring the kind of reality and the kind of justice that our people deserve. You will see over the next year more and more of these types of open dialogues and educational seminars to continue to have a long-term learning for individuals and communities that just out of fear, sometimes out of ignorance, are making decisions that might not be in the best interest of our society. And so thank you all for taking your lunch and sharing your lunch with us. Please join us this weekend if you haven't already signed up. I'm sure Heidi can find a place for you. But the Giving Spirit has spent 21 years in this business of caring for those and bringing people into the light that have been hidden and objectified, and sharing their stories to make real change. So thank you again, ladies, for making this happen, and for all of you for participating.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that wraps up our time together right now, right on time at 1 o'clock. If you have any further questions, any comments, please feel free to email me. I'm just Rebecca@thegivingspirit.org. And I'm here for you all, and really just grateful for all of you and all the work that you do in this community. So I'm going to just let you sign off, and I'll close the meeting in a second. Thank you, everybody.
Bye all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.